roast for dinner. So I just left the gym. Pretty good workout where I didn't um, I didn't really stop. I went from deadlifts to bent over rows to a little bit of shrugs, some lat pull down work. I went from that to some squats with 45-pound plates, and then 15 minutes on the treadmill. And I'm pretty spent right now as it is. But today I wanted to get to the bottom of some of our bad scientific data, and I called up some labs back in Illinois. One of the main labs in Illinois where I'm from, I called them up and I asked to speak to one of the main microbiologists, and I talked to the guy for probably a good hour about carnivorous eating, and I told him about my story and my journey and stuff like that. And I asked him, I said, can you give me some opinions on what you study, you being the head microbiologist here for meat testing and microorganisms and pathogen, how it affects you and stuff like that. And he was explaining to me, some of it I didn't really agree with, but it was nice having a conversation with somebody that actually knew what they were talking about. And he did agree that a lot of the government data is skewed. He said, I can't directly tell you what's truthful and what's not, but what I can tell you is through my line of work, what I've studied, and as a senior microbiologist, and what I study with the types of meats and stuff that come into my facility, he said, we find that, people that eat raw meat, temperature does kill off a lot of the bacteria. But he said at the same time, you can do it a smart way and an unsmart way. And he said, for instance, I'll give you a heads up, like people that eat steak tartare, ground beef. He said, why do you think they can do that? Why do you think in other countries that's a delicacy, or it's like an appetizer before a meal? It's because they'll take live cultured real yogurts, and they'll take that ground beef and they'll actually like water it. They'll actually add a little bit of water and live culture good yogurt to it, like a Greek style yogurt that has like different types of live bacteria that don't affect the body, that actually help it in a good way. And they'll mix that live bacteria in with that ground beef just enough to where it doesn't change the color of it, but they'll mix it in there, and they'll get that live bacteria surrounding that ground beef. And that live bacteria, that good bacteria, will actually eat the bad bacteria. By the time it even makes it to your plate, it's already starting to digest it and get rid of it. And I said, really? And he said, oh yeah, that's how a lot of these people can serve raw meat at restaurants like that overseas, is because they figured out the good live bacteria almost engulf the bad bacteria that are actually on your meat. And there's not a ton of them as it is, but those good bacteria can actually feed off of it and just completely clean bacteria infested beef. That's how they can do it. And I said, so what about these people online and stuff like that just kind of eat raw meat? I mean, that's just what they do. And I brought up Svedij and how he eats raw meat every single day. It's just kind of his life. And they were saying that, he said, that's kind of crazy that this guy can do this every single day. And I was talking to him about the pathology behind getting sick from eating raw meat and things like that. And the guy was a wealth of information. And he said, I do agree with you. I agree that a lot of the government data and stuff is skewed. A lot of the stuff that's put out is not exactly how it is. He said, unfortunately, with my title, I can't really get deep into this, but I can talk about some pathology stuff with you. I can talk about some truths that I've found out over me, my time being a senior microbiologist for a meat testing facility. We don't get into the exact nutrient density that's in it, but I can tell you disease-wise or germ-wise or the different types of microorganisms that can live on meat because of uncleanly. And it was just a very, very interesting conversation on his testing and stuff like that. And he said, a lot of people believe that you eat meat, and because you don't subject it to heat, the things that can affect you pathogen wise on the meat, they don't affect you as much because it's not subject to heat. But he was saying it's actually not that way. There's a reason why we do the testing that we do. if you get that certain bacteria up to a certain temperature, you kill it. So that's why they have like recommendations, beef 140 to 160 degrees, chicken or whatever 160 to 180 degrees. And he said we find that people can eat beef raw and really not get sick that much, but it's people that eat stuff like chicken that have issues with it, or pork that have issues with it. Beef is something that is, it's not as effective in making people sick when it comes to that. And the conversation was just amazing. And I said, you know what, I don't want to stop here. I'm going to call another facility. And I had another 45-minute conversation with another pathologist. And we were just talking about, the different types of cultures in the world that live different ways and stuff like that. And it was nice just being able to sit down and talk to somebody that actually understands what's going on, and exactly how a lot of the data and stuff is skewed. A lot of the data and stuff that are put out is actually bought and paid for by certain industries and stuff like that. So when I started understanding what was going on and being able to talk to these people, it was amazing. And I know some of you are going to watch this video and you're going to be like, oh, BS, you didn't do all that. Guys, I did do that. Some of you that follow me know that I don't lie. I've got no reason to lie. I do this because I want this to eventually be what I do for the rest of my life. I love talking to people. I love learning about stuff. It's a passion of mine. My PTSD kicks in and it kind of like becomes like an OCD obsession of learning as much as I possibly can so I can give back to people. I can empower other people. And, I was talking to this guy. I said, look, here's my YouTube handle. Get on YouTube, follow me, and you'll see that I'm pretty much a carnivorous eater. I don't really like eating vegetables and stuff like that. I eat predominantly just meat. I've got meat in my cart right now. I'm about to go home for dinner and eat like 2.5 pounds of beef because I just spent, an hour in the gym hitting the weights, and my body's craving beef right now. And it's just learning how to communicate with people, learning how to talk and stuff like that, learning how to network. And hey, Deb, being able to talk to these people today and just get to the bottom of some things that are going on. And I told them, I said, I think a lot of the data is skewed. I think a lot of, on a carnivorous diet, when you reduce your sugar and your carb intake, you don't have as much competition with glucose. So now your standard American recommendations decrease substantially. So now you don't need as much potassium, you don't need as much sodium, you don't need as much vitamin C and different types of vitamins and stuff. Hey, Kelly, you don't need this many things. So when you reduce the amount of sugar and carbs going into your diet, your body is not in as much competition with uptaking nutrients. And the pathologist and stuff that I was talking to was like, you know what? It's exactly how it works. The reason we have standard recommendations is because people eat crap shit food. Sorry for my language. I know some of y'all have kids sitting around maybe. I'm not sure what time it is where you're at. I do apologize. And the pathologist was basically telling me that I agree. When people stop eating junk, which the government doesn't count on that happening, when people stop putting refined processed foods in their body, then the recommendations will change. But as long as people still are going to McDonald's and Burger King and buying stuff in a box all the time and stuff that's refined, those recommendations are not going to change because they understand there's a major competition going on inside the body with glucose and carbohydrates. And as long as that stuff is, extremely present, your body's going to be in constant competition to actually uptake, things like vitamin C from transporters in general. So you're never going to get to a point where you can lower your recommendations. That may be, Kelly, it may be. You're never going to get to a point where you lower your recommendations for what you're supposed to have per day because you're eating all the other junk. And if you would stop putting junk in your body, you could almost cut things in half, if not more than that, and you're completely fine. But the reason our standard recommendations are so high is because we eat crap food, and our body has to be able to search and starve and try to take every opportunity that it can to uptake those nutrients. So being able to talk to this microbiologist today and this pathologist was just amazing. Another quick story. I was in Best Buy, and about 6 months prior to that, the same guy that waited on me, I want to look at one of those drone things so like I can fly the drone up above the horse ranch that I live on, and I could take some like video footage of the horse ranch and use that like as a video entry like whenever I do my videos. I think it'd be pretty cool. It'd be very peaceful. and just some calming music and stuff like that. So I went to Best Buy and I was looking at some of these nicer drones and stuff that they have there. And I'm thinking in the future, if I get big enough, maybe I could use something like this, like Goody Beats or um, who was the other one? Will Smith did one of them intro for his video. He used a drone to do his videos in the beginning. And I'm looking at these things, and this guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, what's going on? Can I help you with anything?" And he was like, "Oh, dude, you're that keto guy I seen like 6 months ago." And I was like, "Yeah, I've lost like another 35 pounds." And he said, "Dude, you're looking great, man." And I said, "Thanks, I appreciate it." I said, "You know about keto?" And he said, "Actually, my major is in nutritional, some kind of scientific studies or something like that." So he said, "I absolutely understand everything that you're talking about when you talk about keto." He said, "I'm kind of like a geek when it comes to that. Either I'm at home gaming or I'm really studying science and different types of research and stuff that's been done." And he said, "Some of it I kind of play around and conduct on myself." He said, "I can go to school and I can do certain lab testing and things like that." I said, "That's amazing." And he said, "So, I do understand where you're coming from when you talk about a ketogenic diet and reducing sugars and refined carbohydrates and how it affects the body." And he said, "I don't necessarily agree with how you do it. I do know the principles there. It's very healing." And he said, "You cannot deny that." But he said, "What I think people should be doing is they should be on it for, 3 or 4 months, get the effect of it, get it rolling and stuff like that, start to heal yourself. And then maybe for like 30 to 60 days come out of it and go back to like a Mediterranean or paleo style diet where you're adding in some more fruits and stuff like that are natural for the body, and then start to cycle back into it." And I think a paleo keto way, he said, would be the ultimate way of doing it, because now you're adding in some foods that you're normally not used to for a little bit. You're kind of twisting your body up, shocking it a little bit, and then you're getting right back into your ketogenic pathway for another 3 or 4 months, and you can stack the two of them together. And now you're talking about never desensitizing yourself to carbohydrates. You're getting good quality foods back in your diet and stuff that you were missing for a while, and this gives you a chance to test the waters and see what affects you and what doesn't affect you. And he said, "I think if people kind of ran those two together, it would probably be the best ultimate way to actually get healthy and expedite the process of losing weight." And I said, "Wow, I never really thought about that." And he said, "I follow it. He was really skinny and fit. And he said, I'm a runner." So he said, I definitely agree that it's a good thing, but I think people should cycle in and out of it a little bit. I don't think it should be a consistent thing for like 6 months, a year, or whatever." And I said, "I respect that. I really do respect that." And he said, that's part of the reason where kidney stones and stuff come from, is people are eating so many foods that are so high in oxalates in general, almonds and nightshade vegetables and spinach and things like that, that they're kind of kidney stones, and it's kind of tough on the kidney. And I said, "Dude, you really do know this stuff, don't you?" And he was like, "I study it, man." He said, "It's my passion. Like, I really love gaming. I really love my sham job at Best Buy because I really don't have to do that much work." But he said, "At the same time, I love health and I study the crap out of it." And he said, "I think it's just one of those things where enough people aren't passionate enough about it." And he said, "I think eventually when you get where you want to be, if you run paleo and ketogenics together, you're going to find that you can do that for the rest of your life, and you're still getting good quality whole foods in there, and you'll never have to come off like a ketogenic style journey. You'll shift out for a little bit, you'll kind of mix things up, and then you go right back into it." And I was like, "Dude, maybe down the road, when I get comfortable with where I want to be, maybe I'll give that a shot. Maybe there's not just one way to do this." And I know there's not anyway, but just for conversation purposes, I was kind of like going along with the guy, picking his brain. And it was amazing just hearing somebody else talk about, the science behind all this. And we started getting into a little bit of research and stuff, talking about, vitamin C uptake and the vitamin A recommendations and retinol and stuff that's found in animal products that you can't find in vegetables and fruits and stuff like that. And how a well-balanced whole food diet is key. No matter what it is, it's just a well-balanced whole food diet. And he said, eventually you'll find that your body will start kind of decreasing the amount of food that it wants, because it starts to realize exactly what makes it feel best. And I said, that's kind of what I'm going through right now. He said, "See, that's what I'm talking about." And I said, "I noticed that if I'm eating liver, if I'm eating some pork, sometimes really makes me feel good, but not all the time. I can overdo it." And that's awesome, Kelly. That's awesome. And he said, he was saying that, your body will actually end up telling you what it likes. I notice when I eat liver, I feel really good. I notice that whenever I eat beef, I feel really good. I notice that when I eat certain types of cheeses in small amounts, I'm okay with that. Actually, my body likes that. And then adding something keto in every once in a great while, like a keto pizza every couple weeks or something like that, my body seems to do very well with that. But when it comes down to it, my body simply does the best off carnivorous eating. I cannot explain it. And he asked me, he says, so what type of blood are you? And I said, you really believe in the blood type stuff? And he said, well, not necessarily, but he said there are some statistics that do prove people with different types of blood need different nutrients. And if you're an O-type blood, you probably like more of a meat-based diet. And he said, I don't completely believe in it, but I find that is highly true. And I said, really? Because I'm O-type blood. And he said, see, that's what I'm talking about. He said, if you find a lot of people with O-type blood, they really like meat. It seems that meat in general just does the best with their makeup. And he said, I'm not trying to say that the blood type diets are the best gearing, but it's specifically O-type blood people really love to eat meat. They seem to do really good on it. And I was like, wow, this is powerful right now, being able to talk to this kid that's 22, 23 years old, and he's super smart, and was talking about, how government recommendations are bad, and how the rise and fall of real whole food eating compared to GMO grains and stuff in the past. He knew the whole entire history of it. And I was like, this dude is like legit geek. Like, he really does know his stuff. And it was kind of scary because I thought I knew my stuff. I thought I studied a lot. I studied for hours. Like, when you guys are sleeping, I'm up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out what's my next video going to be. How am I going to prepare something just to get in somebody's mind to engage them? And this dude was like 10 times smarter than me. And I was like, holy crap. And I thought I was smart. This dude's smart. I mean, at a completely different level. And I just thought it was unbelievable. The fact that I had some young kid that was like not destroyed by government, not destroyed by schools, not destroyed by left or right, what would you call it, directive. He was neutral, completely right in the middle, and seeing exactly what was going on. And it was just an amazing experience to be able to stand there and talk to him about just science and life and health and how people screwed up and how we just have way too many GMO things out there. Jessica Link, she used to be one of my admins. She has her own group right now. It's called Keto Genesis Facebook group. She's an amazing woman. She's very smart. And we were talking, and I said, like erythritol, basically. I said, one of the problems I have is I see people using all the sweetener and stuff like that, and they're using GMO stuff. And it comes from erythritol, xylitol, all these malatols, all these different types of sugars and stuff can come from like fermented corn. And they're GMO products. And she said, Rich, they're not just GMO products. Corn that's non-GMO can still be made into erythritol, which is still not good for us. And I said, Jessica, I never thought about that. And she said, yeah, think about it. If you get a non-GMO erythritol, they can use a non-GMO corn to make that non-GMO erythritol. You're still getting a starchy corn-based sugary product. And I was like, didn't dawn on me. I was thinking GMO corn, fermentation process coming from genetically modified corn. And she said, no, it can still come from non-GMO corn. It's still not good for us in some cases. So she said, that's why I cut all the erythritol and all the sugars and stuff down. Like, I don't even really have them. And I was like, man, it didn't even dawn on me. I mean, I just thought that, if it said non-GMO, it would come from like a fungus or something like that they would ferment to make the sugars and stuff. But I looked into it, and she's right. You're right. You are absolutely right. They're not good. And that's, a lot of people don't like me because I openly speak out about that. I'll go try them sometimes because I know for a new person, if they need something like that, it's better than eating standard American stuff. So I won't get on them about that. But I will typically tell people to not even have that stuff. After you've been doing keto for a few months, step away from it. It's not something that you should be consuming every single day. Maybe every once in a while as a treat would be okay, but not like that. I mean, some people make it a staple to have fat bombs in the refrigerator every single day and keto treats every single day. So I just don't understand why. Um, I don't understand why people make a big deal out of the keto treats and stuff like that. I was just at a coffee shop recently because I network and I try to talk to a lot of people, and they had keto vendors there. And that was nice, seeing that there are vendors out there that are trying to give people better options. But at the same time, I took like one little piece of each one and said, I'll try it as a review, but I don't want to eat this stuff. And I bought like 4 pieces, and I finished like half of each one, and I threw it out because I don't want that stuff in my diet. I don't want to become dependent on it. I don't even want to like it, even if it's good. I don't want it in my diet. Something I tried last week as part of my series here on YouTube, The Poor Man's Grillin', is, you guys can see I'm by the liquor aisle right now. And I thought to myself, on my new YouTube series, I would do Poor Man's Barbecue, show people how to do barbecuing and smoking and stuff super, super cheap. And a lot of people like to have a beer with their barbecue sometimes. So I said, why not just live the part? I haven't drank beer in over a year. So I came to Kroger and I found these right here. Michelob Ultra Organic Blonde Pure Gold. Or what is it? Yeah, Pure Gold. And it's 2.5 carbs per serving. I had one when I barbecued on like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then on Sunday I had 2. Didn't gain a single pound. 2.5 carbs per bottle. Didn't make me feel sick the next day. It didn't, nothing at all. And I was able to handle it completely fine. But again, I've been doing this for years. I've been doing this longer than most of the people that you know. If you took 5 or 6 of them and combine them all together, I've been doing it longer than them. So it's kind of like one of the things now that I started this when I was 17. I'm 33 now. I've learned my limits. I've learned how to say yes and no. I've learned how to turn away from things if I start to feel bad. I've learned how to look at where my point in life is and exactly, is it worth it right now? So I tried one. Didn't feel bad at all. I actually slept like a baby. Woke up the next day, got on the scale to see if I gained anything. Didn't gain a single thing. A day later, I had another one. Didn't feel bad. Nothing at all. There must be something with that, because most of the time, if I drink a beer on keto, I feel terrible. But that Michelob Ultra Gold, 2.5 carbs, that's actually better than the regular 2.7 or 2.6 carbs from regular Michelob Ultra, and no problem at all. None. And I was like, wow, this cannot be an everyday thing. This can't even be an every week thing. I just my little 6-pack, and I won't do that again. It was just nice knowing what the option is and being able to play the part for the YouTube series. And you know, I did it, and I walked away from it, and that was the key. That was learning my limit, and learning to know when to say yes and when to say no. And I realized that after that little 6 was done, that was it. Didn't gain a single pound, didn't make me feel bad. So I've learned if I want something, I can learn where to go now. And I don't know, just learning how to engage yourself, your journey, your way. I used to be so dogmatic when it came to that. Oh no, don't eat those keto treats and don't drink all that bulletproof coffee all the time. And to an extent, I kind of still say that sometimes, because I know a lot of that stuff is not healthy for people because they abuse it. But I'm just like, you know what, dude, it's not really that great for you. But if you're gonna do it, do it. Whatever. If you're getting healthy, if you're walking your path, if you're starting to feel better and you lose weight and your health is changing, I'm nobody to tell you not to do something, because I know I sure made my choices and my mistakes. Not even really mistakes, but I just made my choices. So do what you do. So now I'm kind of like people even been, you know, commenting lately, like, dude, you're super laid back now. This is awesome. You're not getting on people about posting treats and stuff all the time, even though I do limit that stuff on my groups. I'm real lenient now. Now I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna harp on people for living their life. Just do what you do. If it makes you happy, do it. I think that's the main thing now, is just realizing that the ultimate goal should be to get to a clean, in my opinion, the ultimate goal should be to get to a clean point in your life where you want the best for yourself, for your family, to make yourself the best version of yourself so you can give people more. You know, they deserve more than just the minimum. And I find a lot of people They don't want to do that in life. They don't want to. They want to just stay where they're at. They start getting a little healthy, and they stall out for a while, and they don't realize that maybe I should change it up a little bit, and they just sit there, hoping that somebody's going to come up with some kind of magic answer, and it doesn't change, and it doesn't change, and then all of a sudden it hits them. Oh, maybe I should cut this stuff out for a little bit, and maybe I could do better than what I'm doing. And then they change. They change on their own. It's kind of like a thing that just kind of happens. So I've realized now not to even kind of get on people about that kind of stuff. Let them do it. It might take them a year. It might take them 2 years. They'll figure it out. They'll change, and then they'll realize, man, I've been doing this kind of like, backwards for a little while, and I could have been doing a lot better, but I figured it out eventually. And that's the key, is just people being able to figure it out. Even if they don't want to listen to you, they'll eventually figure it out. And that's kind of what I focus on now, is giving good advice, good direction. If you follow it, great. If not, we'll still be friends, and we can still do things together. And I just move on. You just move on from that. There's nothing you can do about that. Anyhow, good talk tonight, guys. I appreciate every one of you being here. Kelly, thanks for all the responses back and forth. I'm really glad that you were able to, stay strict in your path and overcomes the things that you've overcome, and that I'm really proud of you for that. And a lot of people should listen to you then. I mean, really, really and truly. I mean, you're a person that should be leaned on for advice, especially with what you've overcome. So I thank you, and thank you for sharing your journey with us, and I'd love to hear more about it eventually. All right, guys, time for me to get home and feed the dog. She eats one meal a day just like me, and we'll go from there. Appreciate y'all. Until next time, keto on, carnivore on, and remember, this is your journey. You got to live it, not anybody else. Peace.